Well, hello everyone. I'm back for another update here. According to all the reports, the system in the Caribbean has made landfall in Jamaica. They claim at the National Weather Service it was a Cat 5 on landfall. I talked yesterday about how it's strange that the storm never really intensified until it got over the within 100 miles of Jamaica. It suddenly intensified from just a weak tropical storm to supposedly a Cat 5 hurricane, and then it strangely jumped in a southwesterly direction at the time of this intensification to where it positioned itself south of the island, Jamaica. Then it continued on a slow westward course for almost full 24 hours. And then last night, late, it finally made the northward turn toward the island. And there was a lot of fear mongering. That's going to be a total catastrophe for Jamaica. Huge loss of life is going to occur from this storm. And if it really was a Category 5, those statements would be true. The big question is, was it really a Category 5? I am amazed at the amount of people that believe that this is really a Category 5 storm just because the National Hurricane Center said it was, just because of flight reconnaissance supposedly is measuring the wind and pressure. The question is, are they telling us the truth? The truth trumps everything. What is really going on? Are we being told the truth about this storm? What is a real Cat 5 hurricane like? Does the conditions that I see on the videos footage match what a Cat 5 hurricane should look like? I mean, don't get me wrong, all hurricanes are catastrophic. Even a Cat 1 could be catastrophic. When I was on my bike tour in Wyoming, I did get caught in a dust storm with probably near hurricane force winds, and I was almost literally blown off the bike by the wind. And it wasn't even really hurricane force. And I had to hold on to my bicycle for dear life. As I was in fear I was going to get literally blown away. The winds had to have been 60 miles an hour. I was barely able to stand up against that wind. We have to really put things into perspective in terms of damage that could potentially be done by these storms. A Cat 5, you would not be able to survive much outdoors in a Cat 5, whether driving around or walking, because there'd be so much flying debris you'd likely get killed, hit by something. Roofs would be blown off, sailing through the air. Trees would be blowing through the air at those kinds of winds. Trees would become missiles, branches would become missiles. You wouldn't be able to survive long outside in a true Cat 5 hurricane. And I've been learning about these storms since a young age, reading about, for example, Labor Day Hurricane 1935, what that storm did. The 1938 hurricane, which wasn't even a Cat 5, and the damage that did to New England and Long Island, New York. I have a whole book on that was written back in the 70s by somebody that actually was a writer during that storm of the newspaper and had to actually do news articles on the storm and its effects. Was who authored that book. So what are we looking at here? Are we really looking at a Cat 5? Or even anything close? If the National Weather Service didn't exist, the National Hurricane Center didn't exist, and I looked at these videos, what would I think? From my knowledge of these storms that I've gained over a lifetime of study and research, what would I think the intensity of the storm was by looking at the videos? Well, my thought on it is, I'd say maybe a Cat 1 hurricane. Which is what I said a couple days ago. I said Jamaica's probably going to get a Cat 1, Cat 2 hurricane. Looking at the videos, the footage, I'm not denying they did. It does appear they have gotten a hurricane. But let's erase everything they're saying about it, everything they're spouting, and look at the actual video footage. And just pretend we don't know anything about the National Hurricane Center or anything they've said about it. Let's just watch the videos unbiasedly. That we've never been told about global warming, that we've never been told about any propaganda. Just look at the videos. Can you honestly say it looks like a Cat 5 hurricane there? If you've done any research on these storms, what I'm amazed at again is the amount of people that are take it total credence in what the National Hurricane Center, National Weather Service is saying about these storms. And if this really was just a Cat 1 or Cat 2 hurricane, what of the rest of the storms that they've claimed are Cat 5 since 2016? Were there any of them really a Cat 5? Were there any of them really even major hurricanes? This ties into what I've been talking about artificially beefing up the numbers to get the ACE count up, to push an agenda of global warming on humanity, and basically bury our heads into the sand of what really could be going on with our climate right now, what truthfully could be going on, and what truthfully causes climate change, because climate is always changing. We've lived through a period of a very benign, stable climate, more stable than usual, slight fluctuations. If we're being lied to about the intensity of this hurricane, how many other things are we being lied to about? Global temperatures, sea surface temperature anomalies, so many other things get called into question of what we've been told. What's really tropical storm? Even the satellite images themselves get called into question. Are we really being shown what's really the images? I mean, I can't get up in space and look for myself. But anymore, I question everything that the National Hurricane Center, anything what the government puts out, I question. I don't ever take anything at face value. I do research to verify what I'm being told or dispute it. I don't ever accept anything the government tells me about this stuff anymore at unquestionably accept it. I don't. From my observations of what I've seen so far in Jamaica, this is no more than a Cat 2 hurricane that's moving through at most. Meaning we've been lied to. This is not a Labor Day hurricane caliber storm. Or even a 1938 hurricane. I'm sorry to say that. we're being fed misinformation potentially here. I wish I could say that we're being told the truth, but I highly question it from the images I have seen from this hurricane and from the eye wall. Compared to what my research has shown about what real Category 5 hurricanes do in terms of damage, in terms of loss of life. So what can we conclude here? It calls everything into question about this hurricane season, about what we've been told, even the images we're being shown. Everything is called into question. I'm not saying it's all a pack of lies either, but it causes me to call even more than ever into question what we're being told about global temperatures, what we're being told about sea surface temperature anomalies, what we're being told about weather records. How much of this information are they fudging? How much of this information is really honest, truthful, factual? And what's going to happen if a real Category 5 storm hits? All these storm chasers are going to be blown away, literally. They're not going to survive. Am I the only person out there that's questioning all this information we're being fed? Because I look on meteorologists, experts, all unanimously say this is the strongest landfalling hurricane in the Atlantic Basin on record. Well, go back and do your research and see what has happened in hurricanes in the past, even back to 1780. And what kind of damage these storms and what kind of havoc they wreaked compared to this one. For example, to get on a different topic, there are some meteorologists out there that are basing their winter forecasts on the sea surface temperature anomaly maps they're putting out for the North Pacific. Banking on that because the water's record warm in the North Pacific, it's going to create a blocking situation there, which is going to lead to cold winter for the U.S. I see no evidence of that. I see no evidence that we're leading up to that kind of pattern. I have seen low pressure after low pressure move into the North Pacific, cold Siberian air after cold Siberian air mass pour into that region. I see no evidence of a blocking anticyclone forming there. I mean, right now,